Hey,
Yeah.
hi. So how are you doing?
Yeah, good. I've had a really busy week with work and everything. It's just a bit crazy. How about
So
you? How's everything?
everything's fine, like, but it's hard. I also lost many opportunities, or don't have a lot of new projects coming up, so I really feel it. At the same time, I was almost ready, so I could start right away offering some stuff online. So it was a good time to just do it and don't think about it.
Yeah.
But at the other side, I can't really work much because with a child at home, I don't even know how I would be able to be working my normal hours if I am playing with a small child
Yeah.
during the day. So it's
Well,
pretty.
I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that later on.
Yeah.
But I'll do a quick introduction, say hi everyone. Thank you for coming to watch this video, and I hope you feel very inspired afterwards because Anna's great. I've seen her work for a while now, just from Instagram, being like secretly on the side, but like we first started speaking to each other for the Ladies Wine and Design chat, which was 3 weeks ago now. Must have been.
2 or 3 weeks ago, yes, something like
Yeah.
that.
Um. So I've been like secretly on the side, and then finally speaking to you has been great. So it's been good. But yeah. So I have a little introduction here that I want to share.
So professional, so super
I
professional.
know. I try. I really try. So Anna is Brazilian, which is a super funky time. And she's not in Brazil, but she's in Düsseldorf in Germany. And she's been there for 14 years. She's a graphic designer, and she is now focusing more on calligraphy since 2016. And she's running her own business, which is amazing. And she specializes in branding, print, stationery, and all the amazing things. And she recently has just published her first book, which is insane. And I look forward to hearing more about that. And she has a lovely child as well called Gabriel, who's 4, and that's super cute. So,
You're
Anna,
so sweet.
hello.
Hello, hello. You're so sweet. Thank you so much for that introduction. And thanks for having me. I am really happy to be a part of this new project, and yes, to connect with other creatives. And
Yeah,
yes,
and we're going overseas here, which is even more exciting. So
that's
I
right.
wanted to just kind of start off. I mean, we've already had a little introduction of who you are and what you do, but it would be amazing to hear how you kind of got to where you are today.
All right, I'll try to do a short version. Yes, I have always been creative my entire life. As a child, I thought I would want to be an architect. That was the only creative thing that I know, okay, that you can study, and the only profession that I thought, okay, that's really creative and I can deal with forms and shapes and building things. And then when I was 15, 16, I guess, I heard about a graphic design studies, and I said, okay, I know now, that's it actually that I wanted to do all the time. So it was always really clear for me, like at the time where my school friends had no clue what they wanted to do for to study, because we have to decide pretty soon, pretty early in Brazil. um, I had a clear vision that that's the thing, because that's the only thing I see. I see this the world we live in colors, in typefaces, and material, and that's just the things I observe and I enjoy. And yes, so it was really clear. So I did my graphic design studies. Not super happy about the quality of studies, even though people say, okay, that's a super nice university and a super nice place to be doing this. I wasn't really happy about it, as I wasn't really happy about living in Brazil in general, because things doesn't really work that well there as I think things are supposed to work. So I was not happy in general. So I also had really early this clear vision that I needed to live abroad, that I need to move to another place to have a better quality of life and better standards and better, also better working space, better everything. Like I was really annoyed at home. Yes, and that was kind of the reason why I decided to move abroad and start over again. And so I just finished my studies, and 1 week later I was already in Germany, starting to learn the language and starting to hear to deal with all the bureaucracy and stuff. But yes, 14 years later, I'm here. I'm super happy, about to move countries again soon.
Oh,
So
exciting. Where are you
yes,
moving to?
I'll be going to the Netherlands in summer. So yes,
Oh, that'll be amazing.
yes, I
Yeah,
think so too.
that's so cool.
Yes, yes. So like I just had a clear vision that I wanted to do something design related, and but I kind of lost that since I came to Germany. I started studying the language and learning other stuff, and I got jobs, more corporate jobs. So I was not really doing much of creative work anymore. So I had a huge gap, and because after finishing my studies, I didn't really thought that I could make a living out of design. I didn't have any references, no friends, anyone that were doing this full time for a living. I didn't know many freelancers around me. So I was like finished with the study that I loved, with subjects that I really loved, but I didn't know where to start, what I'm gonna do with this, how am I gonna be able to provide and to, yes, to get my career going. So that's why I was also happy to find jobs in other areas, um, more of an organizational positions, or organizing also events and workshops and for big corporates. But yes, I think I just lost a little bit on the way. I was kind of looking for what else do I enjoy doing, because I think we creatives, we have so many interests, and we don't there is not one path to go. Like we can do so many things. We could now start taking pictures and illustrating and studying more typography and doing this and doing that. So we're kind of lost in all of our interests. So it's kind of hard. Yes.
Yeah, it's a wild time in the creative industries because of that fact that you can go literally any direction that you want. I think
Yeah.
I definitely feel you for that because I don't know about you, but during university, for me, they were really pushing to have a style and a design, like just know what you want to do, either design, illustration, or photography. And I just found myself kind of dipping my toe in all of them because I don't know, I think I like to do different things and get my hand in stuff, and so being able to have the freedom to do that is great. But also when you have that pressure of being told you need to have a style and things, I was like, I don't know if I have one. I'm just
Yeah,
kind of
and
doing
also those
stuff.
things you develop. Style is something that you develop. You can't just sit down and decide, okay, today I'm gonna figure out my style and define it. You can't. This thing will develop with you. Like it will grow and develop. So you can't just decide. You can have a clue. Like you have to be aware of what are the things you like, what which kind of subjects, what's the message, what's the meaning, and what's the style, what are the things that you enjoy doing. Yes, then you have a clear vision, but your style, the way your work's gonna look like, you need to practice and do it and do it, and then eventually when you look back you'll see and recognize a style. But you
Mhm.
can just sit down and decide it, okay, today is the
Yeah,
day I'm gonna find my own style.
definitely. Yeah, I think now that you said that, like looking back at the previous work that I've done, I can definitely see I've evolved a lot, like from where I was before to where I am now. And I think part of that was because of going to Germany and being there and being amongst all this different styles and things like that. And I was just so inspired by all the people that I was seeing. I was like, whoa, they're like doing such cool stuff. And it's just out of this world that I have been stuck in for a long time. And
Yes, I think traveling it's awesome for that reasons. Like it opens your mind in so many ways. So only if you're just observing design stuff, I think it really opens your mind the way design works in different countries, in
yeah,
different
for
groups.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. So let's chat about some of the struggles that you faced, because you were mentioning earlier about this situation that we're currently in being pretty difficult, and also mentioning you have a son as well. So it'd be great to kind of hear how you're coping with these things that are being thrown at you, and just, yeah, how's it going and things.
Yes, all right. Okay, so then I also have to mention that I started my business after I had my child. Like my two babies were born pretty much at the same time, I say. So I never really considered the option of working freelance or working for myself. I never thought I had this thing, this skill, because you think of a business person, someone dressed a certain way and doing a certain kind of task, and maybe you don't see yourself as a business owner, or so it's sometimes hard to relate to that image we have in our minds. So this idea came really after I became a mother, and after I realized how difficult it will actually be to find a job that I like. So I started to apply. First of all, I lost my job because I got pregnant. So was also not a super awesome place to be in, to have to deal with attorney and all of that good stuff during the pregnancy. That's not what you really want to. And it's also not a crime to get pregnant. So I don't understand why it's such a problem. And yes, I am in Germany, and yes, people look at me and know they are not allowed to fire you because of pregnancy, but this happens all the time. This happens every day. Like because it happened to me, I know of so many other stories, because I've also written a blog post about it. So I know of so many stories of that happens all the time. First, an easy option is they just don't renew your contract. So that's it. So they don't have to fire you. They just don't renew your contract. So over. Or if you have a permanent contract, they just will make everything they can so you go. So many women face really hard times after getting back to work from maternity leave, and kind of forced to leave. So it's not easy. It was really a shocking moment to realize, okay, I can't believe that I'm facing this. That's terrible. But at the same time, it put me in a position, okay, I don't have nothing to lose. I need to start something. I can't wait and sit here and hope for a nice opportunity to
In
appear
your
in front
lap,
of me.
yeah.
I was never this person. I was always searching actively, not chasing my chances and opportunities. And that was a moment where I had to reconnect with myself. That's me, like chasing after those things. And I said, no, I can't just sit around and hope, because I have a feeling it will take more than a year to find something that I enjoy doing. And then maybe I find a position that I don't really like, and then I'll have to be thankful and start that path just because I got it. So I was like, don't like this idea, don't like this. Just even thinking about it was kind of hard. So I said, no, I need to start something, and I don't have nothing to lose. So everything that I will start building for myself, like in my name now, it's a plus. So it's something that I'm getting on top. So that was just a perspective, a shift and a mindset shift at that time. that allowed me to start with my full motivation. That's also motivation that, that we have when we start a new project, that we're just all in. And that's what I did. Like baby went to sleep and I was sitting on the computer, even like crazy, working hours and no plan and no idea. But yes, that's how it worked out. And I'm pretty super glad and super happy about it, that I did it and at that time, and that things developed the way they developed. So,
Yeah, because I mean, you could have just been like, you know what, well, that's what's happened. I'm just going to be okay with that. And instead, you're like, no, I'm not going to sit around, and I'm going to make the opportunity myself. And I think that's what's really encouraging to me, because, like well, You Do You, for example, was one of those things that I was kind of just like, oh, I'm just so busy, like, oh, I just can't really do it. And I think the main reason why I hadn't started it sooner was because I was just a bit too scared to. I was just like, oh, just why? And I was like, this is why.
yeah, I think we are often afraid of taking responsibility, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely this person. Like I would rather, like on the past, I would rather just don't have nothing to do with this decision making process. Like I don't want to have anything to do with this. If it goes well or if it goes wrong, I just don't want to have to deal with it. And that was also the biggest shift, because then you learn pretty fast that it's so nice and easy actually to take responsibility for something, and so that you can really say everything that's working out and also things that are not working out, that's my problem. Like, yes, that's on me, it's okay. And it's such a relief also to be able to acknowledge that, to see things this way. So yes, I started to enjoy that feeling pretty fast, and that was something that I struggled like many years before starting my own thing. And it was also a huge discovery also, like how nice this experience can be, just to enjoy making a decision. And yes, and I don't know how can I express it better, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think the way you expressed it was very well. I think even through doing some research in women in the creative industries and even in business, that I think this is a universal issue, that we just don't have enough confidence to be the big man, if you will, the kind of taking charge and doing our own thing, because for so many years it's kind of almost imprinted in our DNA that
Yeah.
women shouldn't be leaders and they can't be leaders, and they can't make decisions and things like this. It's not the case at all.
It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. There is no reason for that, but as you say, that's just something that's so gender related, that's such a cultural thing. And it's ridiculous. We should say goodbye to that old standards.
We're
And
definitely getting better at it, though. I think the fact that there are more women that are saying starting their own businesses like yourself, and uh,
yeah,
like
I think
surrounding yourself with these people is
I think it's sad that many women are like thrown into that situation out of not having another option. Like, I think that's pretty sad that it it has to be like that for so many women. That's not a coincidence. That so many women, after they have child, that they started their own things, because they are struggling, because they're not getting offered another job, because working hours are not flexible enough, and because all these things. So I think that's super sad at one side. At the other side, I am really glad that I did it anyway, and that I could learn so much, because I really can tell like everything that I learned in university. And I did not only study design, I did also a second master in marketing after that here in Germany. And I can tell you everything I learned in school, it has nothing to do with the things I put on practice every day and that I learned doing business, like doing my own thing in the past 4 years. So it's almost, I have a feeling that I had to throw a lot of what I learned in school. I just had to throw it out of the window and to learn it again by doing. So I really encourage everyone and anyone, like doesn't matter how old and your education, your background, doesn't matter. It's a matter of getting started and get things going and like just this moving, keep moving, keep going. It doesn't matter how fast, or it's just important not to stay and stop developing, stop learning. I think that's a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. Just such encouraging words. I think a lot of us needed to hear that. So thank you for being so honest. So, as we already have acknowledged that you do some graphic design, but also calligraphy. So, how did you get into doing calligraphy?
Yes. Okay. So I always loved letter forms. That was also something that I had from my school times and since I was a child. I always was more interested in drawing letters than drawing other stuff. So when I see my school books, really early on, everything was written with a certain kind of pencil or a certain kind of pen, and I always had different letter sizes for the different hierarchy
Yeah,
points. So like I was always I have always my different styles, different letters, playing with serifs and other elements. So I was always interested in letter shapes, in letter forms. But during my graphic design studies, we didn't really talk much about the handwritten words. Like we had typography classes, pretty basic ones. I loved it.
it was
Was
us as well.
my Yes, it was my favorite subject, definitely, but also pretty intimidating because you read about so many rules and so many things, and it's such a technical thing, and you see the names of big masters in typography, and you're like, whoa, I was like super young, naive, and oh my God, I was so afraid to even think about a career in that field. And because I didn't know that my calligraphy or my lettering could be my job, I never considered that because I never thought about, I didn't know anyone doing it. And so you just don't even know that's an option. So how are you supposed to pick this option if you don't even know that this option is available? So it was pretty one intense search after I decided, okay, I need to do something for myself after my baby was born. And then I started a deep search inside me. Like I started interviewing my family, my friends from school, from kindergarten, like everyone that knows me long time ago. Like, how do you observe me? Like, what do you think are my strengths and weak points and everything? So I was trying to figure out who am I. And because I did that, I don't know, I just came to letterings and in calligraphy. I've observed that the America and other countries, they were pretty better at it already compared with Germany. Like we didn't have much offers on that subject here back then. And I thought, okay, I see a gap. I see that the many other countries are already doing it more, rediscovering the power of handwritten words. And yes, so I said, okay, I can also start doing this here and in German, and to connect with this audience here where I'm living. And just to come back again to this subject about finding your passion or something that is in you, like because of that process of interviewing, after my son was born, I just bought a plain notebook, and I'm giving this notebook to everyone in the family and everyone that took care of him, to write something about him. So like I want to collect this over the years, so that when he's in this moment in his life, so that he will have something written from everyone that met him in throughout his life. So like the first person that took care of him, grandmothers, parents, and everyone that had a closer contact to him is gonna write like a page or 2 pages about him, like how they preserve him, like personality wise. And I think that's gonna be a super major gift for him when he's
Yeah, oh, that's beautiful. Such a lovely idea as well.
yes, and it costs nothing. It's the price of a notebook. You just think about it and do it. I really recommend it.
For sure. Yeah, for my sister a few years ago, she was actually going to go to the Netherlands for her semester abroad. And so before she left, like I made well, I didn't make the jar, but I got a jar and filled it with little notes of like encouragement and things. So whenever she was feeling a bit sad or anything like that, she could just turn to it and be like, oh yeah, like I am
Yeah, like
good at
those
this,
things
like I
are
did
super
this, I am that.
meaningful. Like those things are so easy and they're so meaningful and so
Mhm.
powerful. And yes, we should do, definitely do more of those. Yeah.
That's so good. So good. And also, you have just published your book, which is incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That's super crazy. I don't even know what to think about it until now. Like book is published, but I still can't believe that this happened because I never considered myself a writer. Writing, it's not an easy task for me. Like I really struggle doing that. And then in German, hello,
That's
come
a
on.
whole new realm.
That's crazy idea, but it's super funny. I think it's a nice story about this book is that I really have a feeling that I kind of I was like a magnet. Like I saw that this is gonna happen. I saw that I will get an invitation to write a book. I saw it was coming closer. I saw many colleagues writing books about different subjects, and I was just so sure that I'm gonna get an invitation from a publishing house to write a book, that this happened much earlier than I thought that it would be. I didn't want it to happen. I was super afraid, and I didn't want it to happen because it was not the path that I was willing to take and hoping for or whatever. I was super scared and afraid of that project, but I knew that this was gonna happen. And I think that's sometimes you have to be careful what you're thinking about, or people talk a lot about visualization and putting some things to work out there where you can't control. And I think that was a good example of that. That was not directly something that I was wishing or hoping for, but I was so sure still. I was so sure that was gonna happen. And then yes, and then the email ping, and I was like, I know what it is. Like before I read it, like just see, I have like in my mind still when that notification just popped, and I knew what it was. So it's kind of weird feeling about it. So yeah, here I am. It was a crazy experience, but I wanted to do it. Definitely, it was the right. We had the right people involved, right publishing house, right subject. So that's why I said, okay, for sure, I'll jump in. I'll do my best, and
Yeah.
yes, so it's very crazy. So that's a book about Procreate lettering, as a hand lettering digitally in your iPad with this app called Procreate, which is super easy to learn, but it's also can also be tricky, and you can also yes, there are many tips and tricks that it's nice if you learn those to be able to use the app properly. So yes, I'm happy that I was able to do
Yeah,
this.
so good. And how did it all come about? Were you approached by a publishing group or?
Yes, that's what happened. Like they wrote me one email, they invited me because I would never approach a publishing house because I was never planning on writing a book. I would never ever think that I'm able to do something like that, like a big project like that. And so they wrote me like that was just super funny. Like I had a day job for a while, and the day I quit this day job, I was full of motivation again. Those days where you can sleep and start doing
Mm,
moving things forward. I quit that job, and on the same day I published my iPad, my Procreate workshop, and I just hit published. So I put this first workshop idea, workshop concept out there for people to see it, to buy it. And yes, 1 week later, publishing house write me this email. Hey, I saw we were looking for someone for this subject, and we saw you are offering workshops on this subject. So I guess it will be perfect. And I said, that's pretty crazy because I can just connect the dots, like quitting that job, finding that motivation peak and doing things, putting things out there, ideas, concepts, classes, whatever it is, and then getting an invitation for the next project related to that topic right after that because of that. So it's all related. It's so crazy.
mm-hmm. There's no such thing as coincidences, I like to say.
Yes, no, like you just, that's what I'm saying. You just have to keep moving. You just need to keep developing, keep learning, putting things out there, and things will start happening. Like even things that you can control, things that you have no idea. And that's the fun thing about business. You can plan, you can mm, put together a super fancy business plan, but the thing is your business is going to develop in an entirely different way that you can't even predict because you don't know about those options yet. So that's the real wild thing about being a business owner.
Yeah. How do you think you have any tips for people that are considering, yeah, maybe I'm going to go freelance or I'm going to start a business? Do you have anything that you would tell them at
I
this
think
point
the
in time?
first I think the first thing that comes to my mind now is that you don't have to be afraid to try, and you don't have to quit everything to start doing it. You can just start on the side. You can just start really small. What's the problem? Just put up a website. Just start an email list. Like you don't need a super structure or a super clear vision of what this is gonna turn out to be. Like you just need to start somewhere. And I really would really recommend almost anyone like start uh, talking to your audience, to your friends and family in your closest circle on Instagram or whatever platform you are. Like just start connecting. I was, before I started this business, I was so passive. I was doing nothing. I was reading, consuming only on social media. I was not writing anything. I was super afraid of getting like misunderstood or I don't know, the having to deal with comments that I didn't want to. So like I was super passive, super shy, not putting anything out there, not telling my own opinion about stuff. And you have to change that if you suddenly starting your own project. You need to put your work out there. You need to talk about yourself. You need to show up, even though it's hard to present yourself and be in front of the camera. So those things are super hard, and for some people harder than for other people. But all these things takes a little bit of courage, especially in the first times you're gonna do this. But that would be my first tip. Like think about it. Even if you're enjoying your job right now, you have a nice steady job and your paycheck at the end of the month, but you never know, things change so fast. And we are seeing this now, super good time to talk about it, but like things change so fast. Sometimes you can, if it changes one person in your team, sometimes it's just not as much fun anymore to work there. So like things are so are not as secure as you may think things are. Sometimes you really lose a job quicker than you thought or hoped for. So I would recommend to really anyone start your own website or blog or newsletter or a social media account. Start doing something that's your thing, that's your baby, that where you can collect things, subjects that interests you, and that where you can gather people that also share the same values as you. So you can't do wrong by starting out. Like if you don't need to use it, you don't need to use it, but if you need, you'll be super thankful to have a small audience and to have a channel or place where you can talk about things that matters to you, and then later on maybe sell a product or something. But I would really recommend to anyone. So
yeah, it's a scary thing because I would be one of those people that are like taking your advice right now, because I hope that one day you can be something more. So doing workshops and things like that, and providing like advice from people like yourself that have started their own business, now have a book and doing cool things like that. Just how people can start doing that, and just help them to get to where they want to be. And the name You Do You comes from just trying to embrace yourself for who you are, and your weird quirks that are in your work and things. Like that's what makes you different and special to compared to all the other people that you're working against. I wouldn't say that, but you get what I mean. Just the people that, you know, you're trying to get your way through life, and as are they as well. But just by being yourself, you can get to where you want to be just by being you.
Totally true. Like that's exactly what differentiates us from the others. Like, and that's why you can't really copy. You can't really ask or check on your competitors about pricing and about things. Of course, it's nice sometimes to have a reference of what's going on in your market, but you can't really ask for advice for all those things, or a social media strategy, the kind of format people are putting out. Like you can't just copy others. It's not gonna work. Like you need to start doing it. You can get inspired by them, you can mix and match with everything that you love, but like just copying other stuff, it's really not gonna bring you anywhere, because that's not gonna be authentic, that's not gonna be you. And that's exactly how we sell. Like if you have a personal branding brand, and if you have your own business, uh, that's the thing. People want to do business with you because of you, because you're the way you are. So that's not that other artists that they want to hire, that's because of you. So that's why people need, even if they don't like it, the idea, show a little bit about themselves and like be also in front of the camera once in a while. You decide how often, and you decide what to talk about, but people need someone to relate to. And to even bigger companies are getting more and more personal on the communication on social media, because people need to relate to someone that's behind that screen and writing them the messages and stuff. So
For sure. So I'm kind of touching on the individuality of things. How do you go about your creative process? Would you say you have a bit of a formula that you go through, or do you kind of get ideas and then you just go with it?
I think one mistake creative people do a lot, and myself included in this, is that we start right away without doing a proper diagnose of the problem, and without really getting to know what's the problem actually. Because if someone will come to you for a logo and say, oh yeah, sure, this logo, but you don't even know why a logo in the first place, maybe they needed to change something else, first something on the strategy, or I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a pricing problem. So like we just go with the flow, and we jump so fast on doing without the proper research and diagnosis of the problem. I think that's a huge deal, and I'm definitely guilty as well. So that's a thing to think about, like before starting a project, make sure you're getting paid up front. That's a huge thing, at least 50%. Like just do this, just do this, and you're gonna be like free from stress afterwards. Because I also this week I've read about terrible stories again. Yes, that happens all the time. Even if you have a contract in place, like some clients are just kind of hard and will make and will try to cancel everything if anything didn't really work that the way they wanted, or stuff like that. So I think it's pretty good to talk about money early on. First thing, actually, one of the first things, first email, like just don't waste any time. Like that's your time and client's time, and it's just you being professional, talking about deadlines and pricing right up front. It's the least that you can do to protect yourself, protect your business. And yes, so these things, I think you just have to protect your business during the entire time. Like you really need to take things serious, even if you're one person business starting freelancing. Take things serious, set up your workspace and your workflow and everything, so that you can make sure that you have a contract and that you have a payment up front and that you have like those kind of things. uh, I think like about creative process, I think I'm pretty organized for a standard creative person. Like I think my colleagues, they will have a desk with a little bit more things on top of it, so a little bit more papers and post-its spread around. Like I don't really like that. I need a clear space every time I need to come up with new ideas and start a new project. So I'm kind of a well organized creative person. I think so.
I think that's a good thing though. Like a clear desk means a clear mind, I think. So
Yes, I think it's so good. I think that's the only way I can function. Also, and I think also having things organized, your papers, and also your files, like all these things, it gives you also this professional, people will perceive you as a more professional artist, because you know where your stuff is. Like you can deliver, you can get back to that backup and get back to that one file a couple of years later if you need to. So like you have your things in place, you're not freaking out or taking hours to find things, like looking for things or things like that. So I think it's nice to keep things simple, keep things organized. I'm also like transitioning to make things to print less paperwork, like invoices, all that stuff. Like many accountants don't work digitally as much as they should. I think there is a lot of paper been sending around to accountants all the time, and invoices and stuff like that, and I think it's just ridiculous. Everything is online, everything is like, have a backup, everything's fine, everything's there. Why should I have to print this invoice 2 or 3 times and put it in different folders? Like I don't see the point. So like I just decided I'm going for less and less paper, less and less printing, everything that I can do digitally.
and it's a bit more eco-friendly as well. That's the also
Yes,
another benefit of that.
that's the thing. Like it's so much money that you save at the end of the day. Like if you think, and also for me, it's also more secure. Like when I think about, I'm collecting all this. How can I say, not the invoice, but when you go out eating and you are collecting all those. I don't know the name in English. A receipt, the receipts
Ah,
for everything you pay. like, what's the point of collecting everything, put it in a box, and it's like every month or every once a year, doesn't matter how often you do it. Like, what happens with that getting lost? Like that box is, that parcel is lost, and what do you do now? Like, that's ridiculous. You just scan it, take a picture, whatever. Or the best way is if you pay with your card and have your everything digitally. So then no scanning, no nothing. Everything is there. I don't know. I think there are so many things that could be better, and
It's
I
all
don't.
the learning, just trying to find what works best for you, I guess, as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we switched topics, right? Super crazy, but
No, it's all very helpful stuff, especially the kind of money side of things. Like, that's a very gray area, I think, because a lot of people don't want to talk about money. um, but when it comes to a branding project, for example, how you don't need to speak about specific like numbers as such, but when you go about doing the branding projects, how do you go about charging? Is it to do with the time that you spend on it, or what kind of things are you considering?
okay, lots of things to talk about on this subject. You said it's hard for us to talk about money. That's true. Like, so many people like struggle so much just to talk about it. And but that's the thing. If you don't talk about it, you're not gonna make any. Like, you're really not gonna earn money and have a profitable business if you're not talking about it. So just be clear that that's something that you're gonna have to learn, and that's a learning thing, as negotiation and as everything else. You will learn, and you have to be willing to learn in order to get paid. um, Also, like, two tips really fast that I think, because I think this financial part is such a huge uh, part on this, starting a business, starting a freelance business. uh, Tip number one: have a bank account for a business, a separate bank account, a business account. You need to have your things separate and clear and organized from day one. I really, really recommend that. And the best thing also is if you have one app, one software. There are super cheap options that are there. Depends which country you live, but there are many options to do your like bookkeeping and accounting, or all your invoices and stuff like that. Everything is in one place, is organized, is professional. You have all your stats. You can see every day money you make, money you spend. So I think all these things give you so much clarity, and you should have those from the beginning. Like, it's not, you don't have to pay for a business account. Like, there are many online banks and stuff like that, so we have options. No excuses not to have one. And also, like, a software like that, it's also super cheap. Super, I really recommend you looking to those, to having those things from the beginning. And about pricing, it's super hard subject. I never worked on an hourly based pricing. Like, I never did, hey, that's how it costs for an hour. And because I just don't understand, how is this supposed to work? Like, with time and experience, you're getting better, you're getting faster, and now you're supposed to earn less money now that you're better,
Mm.
delivering better options, just because you're taking less time to do something. Like, how do you put in that account like all the years of experience that you bring to the table? Like, it makes no sense to me. I understand that in some cases it's nice and helpful to have that information, what would be your hourly rate and your day rate. I think it's super important to put that in a piece of paper or in your Excel sheet. And I really recommend it for you to do this math. You really need clear Excel sheet with all your expenses, your fixed expenses, and everything else that may come. Variable expenses, you need to know those in order to plan what would be your ideal salary at the end of the year, and what do you want to make, what do you need to make to survive and to keep your like life standards as of today. So you need to know these numbers, and that's why pricing is a super personal thing, because it is going to be for a student a super different amount than it's going to be for you like later on in life with a child and a home and other kinds of payments. So it will vary a lot. I think like pricing is super tough. I think also emotional things can guide you through pricing. Sometimes we know we could ask for more money, but we're not there yet. So sometimes we also need to be comfortable with a certain price to offer. Sometimes you don't have to decide on a price and to stick with that price forever. Like that's really not what's going to happen. Like you should raise your prices regularly as the inflation is also like changing how much how the value of our money. We also need to adapt our prices when we start and when we develop also our skills. So I see pricing, I think the best way that works for me is that I put together project prices. So I think it's much easier for a client to know upfront that's the price for this service, let's say a logo, or let's say a flyer, or whatever it is, and they know what they're gonna spend. I think it's for me also, if I'm hiring someone, I think it's a pretty comfortable position because I know how much money I'm gonna spend in that project. I think it's awesome. Whether if I'm hiring someone to do it an hourly based and it takes 3 times longer, so oops, I don't like that. I don't like to have to negotiate again with my clients during the process of creating something because you just calculated wrong. Because creative people will calculate it wrong most of the time, and will think that, oh, I can do this in 2 hours, and maybe you need 10 hours. So that's why I like to think of projects as one thing, and to that package you have to think about all the emails, all the communication, all those little things. That's not just about creating. I also don't like people thinking of pricing like thinking only about material, like what you're gonna spend on material for that job, because that's not only about the materials. Like sometimes an illustrator will only need a pencil and a piece of paper. Like that's not about the material costs. Like of course you have all your stuff and software, hardware that you need to pay for, that should be in your Excel sheet, but it's really not about the time you spend, and it's not about the material that you're using right now to make this one project. Like you have other projects, other clients, other scopes, so everything will have to be safe under your pricing in general. So yes, so my first tip will be try to get away from an hourly billing as soon as you can. Some people find it super hard because they never saw another option, or everyone around them are only working this way. So for some people it's super hard to even thinking about not doing this like this. And see your business as a whole. It's not only about this one project, it's about all the other things that are going, and that you need to cover your expenses and to be able to make a profit. So think about it, put some margins there, like in every price you're calculating, and also in every deadline. Like just think of margins and make an assessment after you finish a project. Think about it, how much time actually you spent in this project. Was it a profitable thing? Did you have fun? If you had fun, and if it was a profitable thing, send a feedback, like ask for feedback from this client, and try to get more of those things that you enjoyed doing and that were profitable. Those things you want to have more in your plate. So yes, with those clients you should definitely keep contact and ask them, interview them. It's an awesome way to keep growing and getting more of that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm really sad, but I'm going to have to wrap this up because this call ends in an hour. So we have like 2 minutes left.
Oh my
uh,
God,
Thank you so
talking
much
so
for your
much.
time. No, it's all been really, really helpful. I feel like I have so much knowledge now that I'm like, okay, I feel like I have a bit more understanding in how I can maybe start a business in this, for example, how it can progress further in the future. So thank you so much for that, and for just telling us about what you do and your life, and um, kind of the things that you've struggled with and experienced. I think it's stuff that we need to talk about. Especially with losing your job when you became pregnant and things. That's awful, and it is happening. And so I really appreciate you being so honest about that. And yeah, so massive thank you for your time again. And
Thank you for having me, and all the luck for this project. And I'm really looking forward to what's coming up next.
same.
So,
All right, I wish you the best of luck, and have a lovely day as well.
yes, you too. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
bye.
Bye.